In this last video of unit conversions, I want to go through how to convert units that are squared or cubed. When a unit is squared, that's a unit of area. For example, let's just literally use a square. Suppose that this was a 1 foot by 1 foot square. Well, there's a certain area contained. Areas are two-dimensional things. 2 dimensions. Well, the area of this would be 1 square foot. And that's why the unit gets to be squared, because it's a square foot. Well, what if I asked you how many square inches that was? Well, it's the same size, still 1 foot by 1 foot. The actual physical size doesn't change. Now, I'm not going to draw this perfectly. You would have to divide this up 12 times. No, I didn't draw 12 of them. And then you would have to draw 12 this way. And every one of these little squares would represent 1 square inch, right? Well, this 1 square foot, which represents, this area here, that 1 square foot, how many square inches is it? Now, obviously, that it's going to be 12 times 12. There's 12 inches across times 12 inches down. So 12 times 12 is 144. But mathematically, how would you handle that? This is how, when it starts getting more confusing, you do the conversions like you've done them before. You write down what you're given, 1 square foot. Okay. Now, when you do the conversion, forget that it's squared for a moment. Simply do the conversion like you know how it's done in just straight units, feet to inches. Because, there's not 12 inches in a square foot anymore. It's 144 square inches in a square foot. But a lot of things, it's not convenient for your brain to work that way. So continue working as though it was just a straight, normal inch and foot problem. 12 inches is 1 foot. But notice the foot isn't going to cancel with the feet squared. The way I wrote this foot right here will not cancel with feet squared. Feet squared is a different unit than plain old feet. Well, the way we handle that is to get those units to cancel. I'm going to put this square here. Well, now this becomes 12 squared inches squared, and it becomes a foot squared by adding this exponent here. So now it will cancel. The feet squared will cancel, and I'll be left in the unit of inches squared. So you don't need a calculator for this. You have to remember to mathematically square whatever number you wrote. So your answer is 144 square inches, and that's a unit of area. When we have squared and cubic units, those are units of areas and volumes. Volumes are 3-dimensional, areas are 2-dimensional. Let's try something different. Let's try another one. Suppose I had a 1 mile, and it was a square mile. I suppose that there was a borough or a township somewhere that was 1 square mile in size. Well, maybe I want to know how many square kilometers that is. Oops, I should write that as a question mark. Let me erase this. Maybe I want to know how many square kilometers that is. So let's start this as we know how to do them. 1 mile squared. Now I'm going to pretend for a moment, only for a moment, that I don't know that I'm working in squared units. I'm going to treat them as plain old one-dimensional units. Mile into feet. And there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. Well, the miles won't cancel until I put this squared term here. Now the miles will cancel because it's miles squared and miles squared, square miles. And then you can't forget to square the 5,280 when you do your arithmetic with your calculator. Well, now we're in the unit of square feet. So I'm going to put feet here. I'm going to forget for a moment about the squares. I'm just going to put feet in. What do I know about feet? I know about inches. Well, I know that there's 12 inches in 1 foot. Now I got to remember to put the square here. So this becomes feet squared to cancel with the feet squared. Well, now we're in the units of square inches. Well, inches to meters. And there's 0.0254 meters in 1 inch. Don't forget to square it, or the squared inches won't cancel. And then meters into kilometers. And you know that there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer, but again, don't forget to square. So meters squared, everything cancels. Okay, check everything out. Now, probably the hardest part about this is punching it in your calculator correctly. So we're going to take a moment and do that. If you're not doing this with me, stop the video, go get your calculator, and make sure you know how to punch this in and get the same result. We're going to do 1 mile squared, which I'm not going to punch that in because 1 squared is 1. So 5280 squared times 12 squared times 0.0254 squared divided by 1,000 squared. And my answer comes out to be 2.58. That's actually 2.59 if I pay attention to the rules of rounding. Square kilometers. So that's a two-dimensional unit conversion. It's a unit of area. If it's a unit of volume, it's the same process. There's nothing tricky about units of volume, except instead of using squares, you use cubes. For example, let's pretend we have a 1 foot by 1 foot cube. So the cube looks like this. Now this is volumetric because it's 3-dimensional. So it's 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, all 3 dimensions. And I said to you, okay, this is 1 cubic foot. This whole thing is 1 cubic foot. But then I asked you, how many cubic inches is that? So how many cubic inches is that? Well, you're going to work just like we worked up above. Write down what you're given. 1 cubic foot. And then for a moment, you can disregard the cube. Only for a moment. Don't let your brain ever forget to deal with it. But for the moment, you don't have to think mathematically in terms of cubic units. You can think in plain old one-dimensional units. Feet into inches. Well, there's 12 inches in 1 linear foot. Well, we're not dealing with linear units here. We're dealing with volumetric units. The only way feet is going to cancel with feet cubed is if I cube everything in this term. So this becomes feet cubed, and this becomes inches cubed. Well, all you have to do is cube the inches. So 12 to the 3rd power, and you get 1,728. Cubic inches. So 1 cubic foot is equivalent to 1,728 cubic inches. And you have to think in your mind, a cubic inch, this little baby cubic inch right here. This is a little cube that's 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. There are 1,728 of these in this big box. That is 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's do one more. Maybe I'll pull one off of your worksheet. There's a problem on your 3rd worksheet. I don't know what number it is, but I have it written down on my paper here, where it's asking you to convert 56 liters. Liters are a volumetric unit. It's a unit of volume. Volume is how much space an object takes up. 56 liters, and it asks you to convert that to cubic feet. Well, I have it on the top of that same worksheet. 1 liter is equal to 1,000 cubic centimeters. So imagine a little box, little cube that's 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. If you piled all of these up into one big pile such that you had a big box, and it's hard for me to draw cubes. Yeah, that's a really bad cube. You get the idea. If you piled up 1,000 of these to make a bigger box, so that there was 1,000 of these in here, this whole thing would be 1 liter. And then it so happens that these little cubic centimeters are defined as being what we call a milliliter. And 1 milliliter is equivalent to 1 cubic centimeter. So these are volumetric conversions. So let's handle this. 56 liters. What do I know about a liter? I'm trying to get myself into cubic feet. Well, I know that 1 liter, I want liter to cancel, is equivalent to cubic centimeters, and it's 1,000 cubic centimeters. So liters will now cancel. Notice that the liters wasn't cubed or anything in terms of the math. It's understood that a liter is a volumetric cubic unit. Just it's given anyways, because a liter is defined as 1,000 cubic centimeters. Well, now we have to handle this cubic centimeter here. Well, now we're back to the old-fashioned thing that we were doing in the last example. Centimeters to meters. Well, I know that there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. But this centimeter on the bottom is not going to cancel with the centimeter in the numerator until I cube it. Now it'll go away. Now we have meters to deal with. Meters into inches. And there's 0.0254 meters in 1 inch. And it won't cancel until I cube everything in the parentheses. Now we have inches and we have feet. And there's 12 inches in 1 foot, but the inches won't cancel until I cube it. So now everything is canceled except cubic feet, which we desire. Now you need to be careful. I'm going to use my highlighter here. In your calculator, this term gets cubed mathematically. This term gets cubed. This term gets cubed. Notice that this term does not. There's no cube. We didn't write a cube anywhere outside. See, the exponent here is 1. So when you punch this in your calculator, don't think that you have to cube the 1,000 in this term. The one that's in the yellow here. That doesn't have to be cubed. So when you type this in your calculator, make sure that you're doing this properly. Make sure you're punching this in. So many people know how to set these up, but they don't know how to use their calculators. So this is a little bit tricky to punch in your calculator. 56 times 1,000 divided by 100. Now I put this in parentheses, 100 to the 3rd power. And then I close the parentheses. And then I need to divide again by 0.0254 cubed. So parentheses, 0.0254 raised to the 3rd power, close parentheses, divided by 12 cubed. So another set of parentheses, 12 raised to the 3rd power, close the parentheses. And hopefully if that all shook out correctly, you should end up with 1.2 1.98 cubic feet as your answer. So hopefully this all has worked out for you. Punching this in your calculator is a big deal. Don't blow this off. Make sure you know how to punch this in your calculator. So hopefully this helps you out. You should be able to do that third worksheet hopefully without too much trouble. It's not all that common that we do these cubic and squared units, but good luck with it. Thank you.